Hey guys, Red here, and today we'll be doing a top 10 list, about Star Trek. So, something I recently got into, really got into Star Trek. I started watching Voyager, Deep Space Nine, I've already seen most of Next Generation, so I really got into it, and I started watching and I started noticing a pattern when it came to time travel episodes. And they'd have these categories, as I best like to refer to them as, dream episodes where they think they time travel but they didn't really. Then they have the groundhog episodes where basically the whole day repeats and repeats and repeats, and then there's actual travel from one point in time all the way back, and then like Back to the Future, basically, which that's really the time travel I prefer, is that kind of thing. Rules for this list: only TV shows and movies count for this. No Groundhog Day episodes, because as much as I don't mind the concept, I think it's a bit repetitive. And two-parters, of course, only count as one story. Another thing is, the crew of any ship we follow has time travel. So, like, it can't be guest star number 3 time traveled and we see the effects. The ship we follow has to, with some leniency, has to be the one time traveling. So, now that we've got that out of the way, let's go over some honorable mentions, because yes, there is a few. There's Timeless, which is Season 5, Episode 6 of Voyager. 15 years after Voyager crashes, sole survivors Chakotay and Ensign Kim return to the icy site, hoping to change the crew's fate. And the Forge is actually a guest star in this episode, so it's really cool. The second one is Relativity, for casual mention. It's stranded in Roswell, New Mexico. Although, since they're there, someone better tell Fry that's his grandma. Now that we have the honorable mentions out of the way, let's just start with the list. On number 10, original series, The City on the Edge of Forever. Okay, so the original series is this really goofy series, and yes, I know it started it all, and yes, I know that without this, you wouldn't get Next Gen, you wouldn't get Voyager and Deep Space Nine, and I understand that, but I could never get into original series. It's just too goofy. It's kind of like the same reason I can't get into original Doctor Who. I've tried, not really my thing, but I did want to put it in the top 10 list because the original series is important, and I do acknowledge that. Captain Kirk and his landing party have to discover a mysterious time vortex. It's kind of neat, but also, I'm not really a fan of this one. And honestly, it is one of the first times that Star Trek time traveled. And just to mention that, I think it's neat. Number 9, I have Star Trek First Contact, which, nothing's wrong with First Contact. I actually just rewatched it. I really enjoy First Contact, but I think I enjoy the episodes just a whole lot more. It is the best of the Next Generation Star Trek movies without up, and the cinematography in this movie is just fantastic. I think the character exploration and development in this movie is wonderful. I'll also give it that it's really fast-paced, but it doesn't feel rushed. Like, I was like, oh wow, a lot's passed in this movie. Oh, it hasn't. Oh, okay, I still got more movie. Cool. I also love how there's little hints and little turns about the different shows, and unless you know them, they don't pull away. But if you do know about the different hints, it's a great addition to it. I mean, the guy who plays Neelix is in this movie, but not as Neelix. So now we get to actual episodes, and again, all of the ones on my list I love, but the next 8, it was difficult to put them past tense, which is a Deep Space Nine episode. It's Season 3, Episode 11 and 12. And Sisko, the Doctor, and Dax all get stranded in the far-off year of 2024. It's a wonderful two-parter that really explains Bootstrap Paradox, and it shows you it in person and how it works. The acting from all is just fun and well acted. But even there's some racism hinted at, and it's just, it's a lot. I will give you that, but again, Bootstrap Paradox, man, it's a good episode. It really is a good episode. Future's End, Season 3, Episode 8 of Voyager.
While attempting to stave off a captain who has come from the 29th century to destroy Voyager, Janeway and the crew are thrust into a spatial rift.
Again, the time agency gets involved, and it's not one of the first times, but so Deep Space Nine and Voyager are kind of like. So yeah, I enjoy the villain. The villain's great. I enjoy the costumes. I also enjoy the fact that they're like, hey, why don't you just send us back to Earth this year? And it's like, yeah, we can't mess with time like that. Sorry. I also like that the captain comes back, even if he doesn't.
To the 21st century Earth to prevent an attack which will alter humanity's future history and bring her face to face with her.
This agency that just, they're dictators and they're in war, and you see a Spock that has been battled, and Kirk and Spock are known to be friends and always friends and brothers, and it's not. And I like how this one flips it on its head. Not to mention, they talk about spoilers, but they talk about who Leanne's family line is. They go into depth about that and about the changes to the timeline that this has created, and I think it's really well done. Not to mention the chemistry between Leanne and Kirk is just phenomenal. And in the end scene when she tries to call this universe's Kirk and he doesn't know who he is, man, it's just great. I love Strange New World. It's probably one of my favorite Star Trek shows.
Time's Arrow, Season 5, Episode 26, and Season 6, Episode 1. Data is transported back in time to the 19th century San Francisco, where he hopes to solve the mystery of his death.
It's a great mystery to start the episode off with, and it really is such a fun episode. I mean, trying to figure out why they got sent back and how they got sent back.
Voyager, Year of Hell, Season 4, Episode 9. Voyager comes across a Krillin time ship that's wiping whole species from existence to change the existing timeline.
Just because it is such a wonderful concept and with how they pulled it off. By the middle of the first episode, it is just down to skeleton crew, just main characters. They don't have to worry about the side characters getting in the way, and they send them off, and they are there. And the relationship that Chakotay has with Paris in this episode, while they're being captured, and they're not sure if they'll survive, and Chakotay actually is convinced to try to help the bad guy, but also he wants to do it in such a way that he's not going to hurt anybody. Not to mention, the Doctor cares for the Captain cares for everybody else over herself. Her selflessness in this episode is extremely highlighted. I love the idea of a weapon that erases you from time at all. Not just, erases a little bit. No. Like, you never existed. Such a cool concept.
Yesterday's Enterprise, Next Generation, Season 3, Episode 15. A rift in the space-time continuum brings Enterprise C 22 years into the future and alters the timeline completely.
So, I was talking about earlier about loving Whoopi Goldberg's character. Here's another episode that really brings it into light. And literally, it is because of her that the episode gets solved at the end. Because if it was not for her, they wouldn't have figured it out. Not to mention my favorite part of this episode is it brings back one of my favorite characters from the first couple seasons, who got killed off awfully. And they got killed off by a blob. Now, don't get me wrong, from the interviews I've seen and from everything I understand, the actress wanted out because of issues, because of just feeling like she was a skirt, because of just feeling like she didn't do anything, and once they got Worfen, things actually started rolling ball-wise. And I'm sorry that happened, but I'm so glad she came back for this, because of this episode, it sets up one of the best villains in all of Star Trek.
Next Generation, All Good Things, Season 7, Episode 25 and 26. Picard travels through time while Q once again challenges the human race.
This is my favorite series finale, period. No question. Next Generation has my favorite season finale. It is a time travel mystery. It is what's going on, what is figuring out. It is Q challenging humankind because the trial never actually ended. It is Q and Picard going up against each other one last time before the end of the show, and it is such a wonderful season finale. And if that is all we saw of the Next Generation crew, if we didn't see the movies, if we didn't see Picard, that would have been a wonderful ending. That would have been a fantastic ending. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm glad we got more. I am. But if that's all we got, the ending on the poker scene, I would have been fine. I would have understood it. I would have been fine. That would have been the end of my favorite season finale. It still is a wonderful episode.
Those Old Scientists, Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 7. An accident while investigating a time portal sends innocent Brad Boiler through the time from the 24th century, and Captain Pike and his crew must get him back where he belongs before he can somehow alter the timeline. Trials and Tribulations, Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 6. A Klingon spy takes a Defiant back in time to plant an explosive tribble on the original Starship Enterprise. The crew must stop the fiendish plot while not arousing the suspicion of the original Enterprise's crew.
So, these two are a tie. I couldn't carry myself to put one above the other because they're both just so perfect. They are one of the few times that Star Trek's actually crossed over with each other. Now, don't get me wrong, you have minor characters crossing over here and there, but nothing to this degree. This was an episode that came out last year, which, when it happened, sent waves, and one that came out in Deep Space Nine. These are anniversary episodes, regardless if that's what they're called or not. That's what I call them, and they are fantastic episodes. I mean, dude, it is so freaking fantastic. You have one episode where you have actors from an animated series coming into live action just for this episode. Deep Space Nine people meeting the original series because of green screen effect, and they do such a great job at it. Like, you don't question that they're actually there. I mean, yeah, it looks a little bit goofy, but like, But at the same point, again, I'm not a huge original series fan, but this is so cool, man. I mean, they got involved in not really biased standards with the whole plot, and not to mention it's an original series episode that's not important. I mean, they could have chosen so many important episodes to get involved with, but they chose an episode where these fluffy things multiply themselves. They're bunny rabbits. They're hairballs. That's the episode they chose to involve themselves on? Not to mention, when they get time traveled back, they have to use the equipment from the past to do this. They have to use all of the different crew. Not to mention, there's a joke about the uniforms. And just thinking about this episode, it is such a great, fantastic, amazing episode. But that's my top 10 list. Again, this is not something I'm going to be doing. And that's my top 10 list. This is not something I will be doing all the time. I find it I can put my thoughts into brackets and I can actually tell you guys something, and I know it's been a minute. But I plan on getting into the swing of things with this year. I plan on getting back into the swing of things. I plan on focusing more. I'm gonna try to get 12 videos out this year, and that doesn't sound a lot, but being the fact I haven't done this in a while. But my train of thought is for at least 12 episodes. We'll go from there. If I can get more, cool. If I can't, I'm not gonna force it. I do this for fun. But until then, until I see you guys again, live long and prosper.